Hello and welcome everyone, we Weeb online and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Pranked Konoha? But is it a prank? Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Iruka had been nervous all day. To an outsider, he appeared to be overreacting. But he knew better. The day of lessons was nearly done, but Naruto had not played any pranks. It was the first day back after a month off, and there had been no prank attempts. He'd tried the lengthy con before, but never managed to keep it going for this long. He knew whatever Naruto was up to would be massive. Iruka, is my answer wrong? Sakura, like the rest of the class, seemed puzzled. He said, returning to reality after a few minutes of trance. No, it was correct. Now, can someone tell me why Shuriken Jutsu practice is so important? When he looked around the class, he noticed that everyone was giving him strange stares. Sakura finally lifted her hand again. Well, Sakura, if no one else knows, go ahead. It's only that you posed the question before, and I already answered it. He'd made a mistake, and he could hear a few chuckles among the pupils. That was a test. And you passed it with flying colors. Now let's go get some target practice in. As the pupils prepared to leave for the training fields, there was a cheer. He couldn't help but observe Naruto's usual level of eagerness, which was another worrisome indication. He attempted to ignore the feeling of impending doom. Instead, he felt compelled to concentrate on teaching 7-year-olds how to toss sharp objects without injuring themselves. All right, nice job everyone. The entrance of several parents signaled the end of the day. Remember to practice in your spare time as well. I hit more targets than you, Naruto, Kiba boasted excitedly. You cheated, Akamaru did all the effort, Naruto argued back. After all, I wasn't even trying today. That strange remark set Iruka off again. Something was wrong because Naruto was always fiercely competitive on the training grounds. He watched the pupils slowly stream out as parents passed by, and as usual, Naruto was the last one to leave. If something was going to happen soon, he'd have to try to prevent it. Do you want me to take you home, Naruto? This would give him more time to put together this trick. Oh, I'm just waiting. Alarm bells were starting to ring in his head. Is he waiting for Iruka to go so he can set something up at the academy? He did a cursory search of the surroundings, knowing that if it was something like that, he'd need resources somewhere. You sure? His thoughts started racing with ideas of what he could be preparing. How about we stop on the way and get something to eat? He knew Naruto couldn't say no to ramen, so this was his greatest weapon for getting him to do things. Nah, I shouldn't have to wait too long. He was on Iruka being on him, it was the only answer. Well, I'll just sit here with you, or I could give you some more shuriken throwing tips. This was his last-ditch effort to postpone whatever Naruto had planned, and he could see him thinking about it. He praised the powers that be for assisting him in averting this disaster. Naruto, I'm sorry I'm late. His scheming was cut short by a fresh voice as someone else approached. If you take the roads, it's not easy to get here. Iruka came to a halt and peered at this visitor. They appeared to be around his age, a little shorter and with short, dirty blonde hair. As he met their emerald eyes, he sought to figure out who they were. Oh, you must be Iruka, he said, looking at the hand extended towards him. Yes, he shook his head nervously. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure who you are. Really? They asked, looking over at Naruto. I thought he would have informed you, but I'm RZU. It's good to have a face for the legendary Iruka Naruto always talks about. Well, it's wonderful to meet you as well. Iruka looked across to Naruto, taken aback by the wide grin on his face. Oh, how could I forget? Iruka, this is my mother. What? Iruka raised his head to gaze at RZU. Is it cool that he volunteered to fetch us some ramen? Naruto, you had ramen yesterday. You can't have it 2 nights in a row, but you're welcome to join us for dinner. Iruka was still in a daze, unable to grasp who he was about to meet. He was only jolted out of it by Naruto's raucous laughter. Yes, I would enjoy that, he said, not wanting to be impolite, but also wanting to know whether this was some clever plan to fool him. Fine, I'll write down our address for you. That would be really useful, yes. He waited a few moments but saw they hadn't gotten anything to write on. Do you require a pen or paper? I kind of just need you to let go of my hand, they said, looking down at the still-going handshake. Okay, sorry. Iruka swiftly removed his fingers, clearly ashamed. And you can stop by, they thought as they looked over at Naruto. Perhaps around 6. 6 sounds wonderful, he said as he accepted the note with the location written on it. Perfect. This is convenient because I wanted to meet with you and inquire about how he was doing in school and such. What? Naruto asked, startled. That doesn't need to be known. Iruka, you know I'm a brilliant student. I suppose we'll have a lot to speak about over dinner today. He had the final laugh as Naruto's expression fell. Great, I'm looking forward to that. RZU grabbed Naruto's head and began to walk away. Iruka waved them off and waited until they were out of sight before softly freaking out. Did Naruto have a mother? He figured the Hokage would have arranged for this so he wouldn't be alone, but why hadn't he been informed? He went to the Hokage tower for some preparatory responses before attending the meal. He happened to run into the Hokage just as he was about to leave. "Ah, Iruka," he said, appearing to be in better spirits than Iruka had anticipated. "It's a pleasure to see you." "Thank you, sir." He didn't know how, but he knew Naruto had gotten the Hokage involved in this hoax. "Are you stopping by for any reason in particular?" "I was about to leave for the day." I'm sorry. I just have a few questions concerning Naruto's new mother." "Oh, so you met RZU?" "Yes, when did that happen?" Iruka had done a few missions during the academy vacation, but he didn't believe he'd miss anything like that. "I'd estimate 3 weeks ago, but I'd have to check my calendar for an exact date." "No, that's not required. I have another question. How did this happen?" "You'd have to ask the two of them for specifics. But from what I gather, RZU met Naruto by happenstance while here for a visit of some type, adopted him, formally became a citizen here, and now works as my secretary." "So you didn't just assign someone to adopt him? It just happened." "I believed you conveyed these feelings to Naruto, Iruka." "No, it's not that. I'm simply concerned about him being adopted by someone who just arrived 3 weeks ago." "I was too, I tell you. But I personally screened RZU and found them to be totally acceptable. If you'd like, I'm sure I could arrange for you two to meet and you could conduct your own vetting. Today, I'm eating supper with the two of them." "Well, if you have any reservations about Naruto's character or are concerned about his well-being tomorrow, please bring them to my notice." "Certainly, sir." "Good, now I'll be on my way," he said as he walked away. Iruka was only 70% certain it was a joke after hearing the Hokage's knowledge on the matter. He had no other choice but to kill the couple hours before dinner plans. He was confident in his abilities to solve the mystery, as well as in the dessert he nicely purchased to deliver. He knocked on the door 15 minutes before 6 o'clock. "Shit, he's early, go stall him," he exclaimed as he heard frantic footsteps run towards the door. "Hey, Iruka," Naruto said as he opened the door, noticing smoke rising from what he believed was the kitchen. "Didn't you state that a good ninja is punctual? Is everything okay?" he said, trying to figure out what was causing the smoke, but Naruto shut the door again, making it impossible. "Yeah, that's all good. There's no burnt cake, so why bring it up?" "How come I didn't? What insane?" Naruto began laughing loudly as a distraction while searching for another. "Whoa, what do you have there?" "A bag. That's cool. Yeah, I got a tiny cake to bring for dessert because your mother was cooking dinner. Is that all right?" "Oh, the dinner. Yeah, that's going really well." "Fuck," he said, still not convinced. "Just the baking, because mom wanted to bake a cake for dessert, which hasn't gone so well." Iruka heard a window bang open and then close again. After a few moments, the door was fully opened, and RZU entered the conversation. "So," they said as they looked at the luggage he was holding. "Wow, that's a cool bag you got there, huh? I did stop and get a cake for dessert." "Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't have time." "Yep, that's it. I didn't have time to make one." Right, of course Iruka didn't want to be disrespectful by mentioning what he'd seen and heard. "May I enter?" "Of course. Welcome to our gorgeous, albeit smoke-filled, home." It was, of course, small, with the kitchen, dining area, and living room all appearing to be integrated. He thought there were 2 bedrooms based on the doors he saw, and the third was most likely the bathroom. Naruto appeared to have booked a reasonably good location for this intricate trick. "Feel free to take any seat. And I hope you enjoy chicken because I didn't think to ask earlier," RZU said as he returned to the kitchen area. "Would you also want a drink? We offer water, milk, or wine." "Wine? Oh, terrific," they said as they brought out the bottle and a glass for him. "The Hokage gave it to me as a present, but I don't enjoy wine, so I guess you may keep the bottle." Oh, Iruka was trapped between not being rude and not wanting to drink a whole bottle of wine with this dinner. "Thank you, but might I get some water as well?" "Of course," says one. He sat patiently as they brought out the rest of the meal. Given the circumstances, he was surprised to notice that the chicken stir-fry looked tasty. They started eating once all 3 of them were seated at the table. "Thank you for dinner," he said, still on guard, expecting something to jump out at him. "It was excellent." "Oh, thank you." RZU was overjoyed at the compliment. It turns out that reading cookbooks is a terrific method to quickly learn how to cook. "You should have been here 2 weeks ago," Naruto said quietly. "Mom kept burning everything, so we grabbed takeout." "I heard you say that." "You can't prove it because I didn't say anything." "Did you never used to cook?" Iruka was perplexed. "Not at all. Not much time with your old job." He thought this would be an excellent opportunity to learn more about who they were. "That's a good way to say it. What did you do before?" "Oh, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you know." "I'm afraid I can't say I do." "Of course you do. Temp job." "Yeah, temp employment." "You previously worked as a temp." "Yup. How about you, and where are you from?" "Oh, all over, a lot of traveling with temp job. Before that, I was born in the land of snow and lived there for a while." "And you come here because?" He tried to keep this actual answer momentum continuing. Hard to say, I was just here, you know. Sure, he should have known that wouldn't work. Did you also adopt Naruto? Sure did. There's papers and everything to support it up. How did the two of you meet? Oh, I got this one. Naruto determined after sitting on the sidelines for too long. By all means, Iruka also wanted to hear this from Naruto and figured he could seek Arzu's opinion afterward. Well, it all started while you were on a 2-day expedition last month. I planned my final big prank around your absence. Of course you did. Continue please. I was pulling a quick one on some of those losers, you know the ones. Naruto was racing as fast as his little legs could carry him, 2 ninjas close behind. He duped and escaped these 2 numerous times, and now that Iruka was gone, he was convinced no one could uncover his hiding spots. He crept behind the top of a taller structure and hung to the base of a water tower. Damn it, the one who stopped nearby to try to follow in his footsteps. How quick is this kid? He can't be that fast, the second ninja thought as he surveyed the rooftops. He must have gone down to the streets. The 2 plunged to the streets below on a wild goose chase. Naruto stayed in his hiding location for another minute before lowering down for safety. He took out a checklist he'd written and crossed out each of their names. 2 down, 4 to go. He may only be 7, but he was going to get even with these jerks somehow. He hopped down into a neighboring alley after dodging those 2. He made certain that the final sections of his escape routes were close to Ichiraku so that he could refuel. He came to a halt as he noticed someone at the end of the alley. When they saw him, they rapidly approached. So much for his ideal vacation. There you are, they said as they reached for his one arm. I've been concerned, young man. You've been. He had no idea who this was, but it wasn't one of the ninjas hunting him. Of course I have. I take my gaze away from you for 1 second, and you're gone. He could now see 2 more persons at the end of the alleyway, but he had no idea who they were. Hello, you. Excuse me. I'm talking to my son right now, he said, completely disrupting his beat. I mean, you could have gotten hurt. And look where I found you. An alleyway. This isn't clean at all. Young man, is this your? The one who'd yelled out before approached Naruto, but there was no headband on him. Parent. He raised his eyes to theirs, and they nodded almost imperceptibly back. Naruto, unsure what to do, decided to go along with it. This is my, mother. Really? Of course, I would have said that. And what exactly is your mother's name? His now fictitious mother asked sternly. Of course, it's Mom. What kind of person doesn't know his mother's name? Actually, the other guy said for the first time. I never found out what my mother's name was. Really, it's impolite not to call her mother. You are incredible. Well, that makes sense, but you appear quite young to have a child this big. Oh my gosh, they exclaimed as they wrapped a lock of hair around one of their fingers. That's very kind of you to say, sir. That's not what I mean. What's the name of your son? Oh really? You think I don't know what my little boy's name is? I'm getting some pretty confusing signals, sir. Reply to the query. I don't think I will because you are being really impolite, Naruto said as his hunger growled. And you're wasting my time since we're on our way to eat some lunch. Yeah, Naruto saw this as an opportunity to help this stranger while also receiving free food. Naruto enjoys ramen. I don't think we've got the appropriate individual, the second guy said again. Like our target doesn't have a child. I'm aware, the first person said, clearly frustrated with his associate in the circumstance at hand. All right, sorry for the mistake. Have a nice meal. Thank you, mister. Naruto determined to push this hard. As the men exited the passageway and disappeared into the packed street, the 2 of them waved them off. After a few moments, his mom breathed a sigh of relief. Are you a young actor? That was a fantastic performance. That was nothing, and you should be glad since artificial tears are a lot more expensive than a ramen bowl. Well, I see you've already learnt life's most important lesson. Never do something for free if you're good at it. On that note, his stomach growled once more. All right, let's get you some ramen and then I'll leave you off with your real parents. Naruto would allow them to cross the orphan bridge once he had crossed the ramen threshold. A short stroll later and he was ordering his favorite bowl. Well, here is a new face, Chuchai said as he brought out the bowls for the 2 of them. Are you going to make any buddies your own age, Naruto? This isn't my friend. It's my mother, Naruto said, using air quotes. Your mother? He asked, perplexedly looking between the 2 of them. How long has it been? About 10 minutes ago. They gave him a peace sign while he just looked back for an explanation. Both were too preoccupied with eating to provide any other information. Naruto's bowl was suddenly interrupted by one of the ninja he'd given the slip, who yanked him off the stool. I thought coming here would be the quickest way to find you, he said as he stared at Naruto. Do you mind? Naruto couldn't think of anything else to say, so he simply motioned to the ramen. Yes, I'm concerned, and you're going to get in a lot of trouble for what you did. Excuse me, Naruto said as he watched his mom set their bowl down and turned to face the ninja. Could you please put my son down so he may finish eating? He's a growing boy. What? You're what? My son, Naruto, the boy you're clutching right now, lay him down. With a puzzled expression on his face, he complied and set Naruto down. He'd known he'd been losing out his entire life since he hadn't had parents, but by how much? What do you think my son did to deserve you coming in here and putting your hands on him? He tampered with the memorial stone. When do you believe he did this? Like 30 minutes ago. I chased him immediately after. That is inconceivable, they said as they folded their arms and looked him down. I was out shopping with my son this morning, and now I'm bringing him out to lunch. I think I would have noticed if he destroyed a memorial. Are you accusing me of lying? Yes, I am, they exclaimed in unison. I'm also calling you rude and irritating, so go out of here if you don't mind. Naruto watched as the man he had very definitely been running from collapsed. He made a feeble attempt to point at Naruto and say something, but his mom simply pointed to the roadway. This ninja, now a broken man, fled. Naruto was rendered speechless. He had not only done it, but he was getting away with it, without any deception on his part. Geez, does everyone in this establishment have bad manners? They sat down to eat again after he left. Wow, you completely destroyed that guy. You learned some tactics along the way, such as how to appear assertive and aggressive. I should also mention that I certainly did vandalize that stuff. Naruto didn't want another deception in this relationship. Oh, I don't care. I didn't even pay attention to what he said you did. Consider this extra reward for your earlier assistance. So I take it. Chuchai had just stood there and observed. Are you really his mother? Do your parents never take you out to eat? They were astonished he had to ask. About that? Naruto realizing the orphan bridge had to be crossed. I don't have any parents. Are you serious? Chuchai confirmed. Yup. He's completely on his own. Isn't there an orphanage? Isn't it an orphanage's explicit job to care for children without parents? I was kind of booted out. Can they do that? Apparently. Naruto didn't want to explain why he had broken the 18-strike rule. I'll lose it if you tell me the alley I found you in is where you live. Oh no, I have an apartment and money from the old man. They gave him a strange look and answer. So this old man offers you money so you may live on your own, rather than just looking after you. I mean, technically yes. Naruto couldn't see the location of this particular course. Where can I find this elderly man? They said, looking amongst them. Oh, I'll show you. Chuchai attempted to avert the coming calamity by saying, Naruto, maybe that's not agree. Thanks for the lunch. Keep the change. Let's talk to this old guy, they said as they dumped way too much money on the counter and walked away with Naruto. Oh, why can't he just name him the Hokage? Chuchai couldn't decide who was more concerned. Naruto brought them to the Hokage Tower without ever explaining what it was, only that the old man worked there with his crucial office job. The secretary who was present was unprepared. Sorry, but he's in a meeting. Naruto, she didn't check, but she didn't like how frequently Naruto came by. Oh, he's in a meeting. None of them anticipated his mom slamming down on the desk and shrieking. Is that correct? Ooh, she started to cower. Yes. What kind of meeting is that? She tried to respond, but her words came out as choking sounds as she was overcome by panic. I'm going in there. And when I'm finished, I might or might not have some more words for you, they said as they walked to the door. In a panic, the secretary curled up in her chair. Naruto observed her take some paper from the desk, write on it, and immediately leave. When he heard the office door being kicked, he realized he should definitely intervene in some way. You, they said angrily, pointing at the Hokage. Me, he asked, clutching his pipe, which he had just packed for a smoke. You, they said as they walked up to the desk and threw the papers off. Naruto, he asked, noticing Naruto in the doorway. What is your name? That is not what I am here to discuss, they said as they pushed him back in his chair. I'm here to discuss you, you deadbeat piece. Naruto, hide your ears. Naruto missed the finish of that sentence and the next ones because he covered his ears. He could hear a lot of yelling, pointing between himself and the Hokage, and then even more yelling. When someone else arrived on the scene, everything came to a halt. Kakashi said, looking at the shattered door, the items scattered around the room, and the ranting stranger. I have the report from that latest assignment for you, Lord Hokage. And ANOT they stopped hearing that. Dear Lord Hokage, that's the Hokage you're aiming at. They returned their gaze to Kakashi, who was standing next to Naruto, and then to the Hokage. Their eyes gradually expanded in recognition. They began frantically cleaning up everything they'd dumped on the floor and rearranging it on the desk. Kakashi, yes, I appreciate it. I also picked up your secretary's resignation letter, which she had placed on the desk. That's fantastic. Haha, that's so funny. They attempted to remain calm. She didn't write why on there, did she? Stress in the workplace. Oh, that's so vague. It could be anything. He said, as if he had a good idea what it may mean. Who are you now that you've calmed down? That's my mother. Naruto determined to speed up the explanation. I may have misrepresented who you are when I was asked previously. Mom, the Hokage inquired. Yeah, about an hour ago now. Around an hour. Did you get adopted an hour ago, Naruto? The Hokage said, not completely understanding what they meant. Do you mean no, but also no? Did you complete the adoption paperwork? He asked the mother in question. No, it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. I wouldn't call myself his mother, at least not legally. You could have fooled me. Have I stated how sorry I am for that minor misunderstanding? You haven't, in fact. I really apologize. Well, he said, looking over the documents on his desk. I am the Hokage, and I have the necessary documents somewhere. I'm not sure whether that's a wonderful idea. They rubbed their chin. I'm just going to be in town for a few hours, and I'm not even a citizen here. I've also got the papers for it. I also have limited finances, no employment, and no place to live, so I don't think I fit any of the adoption requirements. I have a house. Naruto had grown rather attached to having a parent in such a short period of time. And I now have an opening for a secretary. And I'm here, Kakashi said, reminding everyone that he was indeed present, so I can be the citizenship voucher. I don't even know who you are. So, you've apparently been Naruto's mother for an hour now, which is sufficient for me. I see, they said as they peered around the room like a trapped animal. I suppose I'll sign that. Paperwork? Excellent, said the Hokage, pulling 2 forms from his desk. With one minor misuse of power. Naruto's mom was suddenly both a legal village resident and his mother. He'd hang around in more alleyways if he'd knew it was this easy to acquire a parent. Wait, don't tell Iruka, Naruto said as he halted the 3 of them. Why? Kakashi asked, raising one eyebrow. I swear it'll be incredibly funny. Okay, he shrugged and continued on his way. HM, the Hokage said as he examined the forms. Is it just RZU? No last name? They grumbled in response to the question. Yes, either you have a last name or you don't. The next one. Well, I think it's unconventional, but because you're now Naruto's mother, you'll be in the books as RZU Uzumaki. Oh, fantastic, RZU said, weirdly relieved. Do I start working here tomorrow? Yes, I will need you right away. All right, I guess I'll see you then, boss, they said as they moved slowly to the door. Yes, you will. Enjoy the rest of your day, you too. Naruto then took RZU back to what would become their home. They took a brief look around. All well, we'll locate a new place as quickly as possible if that's okay. How come? I don't mind sleeping on the couch for the time being, but now that I'm staying here, I'd like to have my own bedroom. Oh yeah, Naruto had not considered that, but I'll worry about it, they said as they tousled his hair. For the time being, tell me more about yourself, son. Naruto spent the rest of that night and much of the next day telling RZU everything he could think of about himself. He'd spent his entire life wanting a family and parents, and he finally got one by accident. He couldn't wait to inform everyone he knew that he now had a mother. So yeah, that about covers it all. Naruto concluded his story with Iruka in the present. Are there any questions? Yes, a lot of them. He'd have to explain to so many people the complexities of allowing a stranger who met Naruto in an alley and used him as a prop for a deception to become a citizen and his parent. Well, what are they? RZU guessed they'd be aiming at them. Why were you attempting to flee those 2 guys? Oh, simply a misunderstanding, as in Naruto's narrative. Really, I had no idea who those people were or why they were tailing me. Iruka creased his brow. They were obviously trying to keep that a secret, but he felt it was critical information to have. Why did you agree to the entire adoption thing? It doesn't seem like anything you were particularly excited about. Oh, I don't know, they shrugged. I believe the 20 minutes I was yelling profanities at your village leader made me reconsider the whole parenting thing. It's also remarkable that you weren't thrown in jail for it. Who would throw this face in prison? They asked, holding their palm under their chin in an attractive gesture. Right, he attempted to dismiss it. How about your surname? Do you truly don't have one? No, I've got one. And what exactly is it? Duh, it's Uzumaki. Didn't you hear the story? Iruka had admittedly wandered into that one. And given how shady RZU was, he hadn't made much progress in collecting answers from them. Thank you for dinner, but it is getting late. He'd have to try again another time for answers. Oh, Naruto has school in the morning. RZU checked the time, and right you're the teacher. Yes, I am. Iruka replied with a chuckle. All right, hopefully we can meet about how he is in school soon then. RZU had forgotten in the midst of the baking and the story. Once again, that is unnecessary. Naruto was looking Iruka in the eyes. While he was still skeptical about how Naruto became a parent, Iruka had to admit they seemed to be a good influence on him. In the first week of classes since the break ended, he'd shown a drive to improve as well as a noticeable increase in skill. This only raised his suspicions of this RZU. If they were helping him train, there was certainly more to them than what they tried to claim. Iruka, guy, a man he only knew through Kakashi, skidded to a halt. Sorry to have nearly bowled you over there. No harm, no foul, guy. He should have noticed sooner if he hadn't been so distracted. That's good to hear. Kakashi constantly telling me that my training is causing havoc. He won't even listen to me when I explain that this is merely a warm-up jog and not really part of my training. When Guy continued to explain his routine, Iruka observed 2 other individuals coming up the trail, and the sight of Naruto and RZU exhaustedly sprinting towards them made him discard his previous line of thought. And as the 2 of them collapsed near Guy, he paused his explanation. Perfect. I was scared you 2 had abandoned our warm-up run. Wouldn't dream of it, RZU said, pulling 2 bottles of water from a small gym bag and starting to gulp one. Do you think the running is over? Naruto sipped from the other bottle while waiting for a response. Is it almost over? We've barely made it halfway around the village. We still have to finish this circuit and the next one, Guy said, stunned. Guy, I think you're pushing them too hard, Iruka observed as they struggled to breathe. Is this your first workout with someone else? No, someone besides Kakashi. Yes. Do you believe they should start with lower intensity training? I suppose you're right, the floor said half-heartedly. Half a lap is a nice place to start them for the run. We can now proceed to 1,000. Lower. 5 young men. Please reduce. RZU looked as if they were going to pass out just hearing the numbers. 100. How about we just do 20 and you do 1,000? I suppose that may work. He rubbed his chin, but 20 is a little low for the sets. How many sets do you have? Previously, Iruka had not believed Kakashi's stories about Guy, but she was beginning to do so now. Of certainly 10. I think I can accomplish that, Naruto said, his voice a little flat because he was still laying on the floor. Great, since you're already down there, we can start with push-ups. Guy joined them on the floor and began performing insanely fast push-ups. Who is he? RZU couldn't keep up just watching him. Iruka decided to stay and watch their training. When he felt good about his own condition watching Naruto and RZU, he'd watch Guy to feel worse. Hours later, they had made it to the final set of the workout. Guy had finished his set so much earlier and was alternating between offering encouragement and getting more water. Yes, Guy said as they tumbled to the floor again. How does it feel to hone your youthful power? Can we never do this again, Mom? Naruto was whispering to them as he continued to cheer for them. He knows where we live. RZU plainly regretted consenting to the training, saying, we can't hide and we can't outrun him. I am extremely proud, Guy said as his speech came to an end, to have helped you both go on this trip for the first time. Guy, do you believe Naruto passed out? Iruka approached him as his eyes closed. Oh, that reminds me, I was often reported missing when I was passing out training. Iruka looked over Naruto, who was definitely faking it to get out of this predicament sooner, and after what he'd witnessed, Iruka determined the two of them had earned it. He's fine. I'll have to help the two of them get back home. I insist on assisting as well, Guy said as he grabbed Naruto up. I'll get RZU then, Iruka said as Naruto was whisked away at breakneck speed. Brave child. He really bit the bullet today, RZU said as he helped them to their feet. How come you were training with Guy? Iruka slung one of their arms over his shoulder to assist them in walking back. Well, Naruto asked me to assist him in his training, and I know fuck all about training. So I asked Kakashi, because I only know maybe 5 people here, and he advised to go see Guy. We met. He pounded a boulder into stones, and Naruto requested we train with him. Kakashi must dislike you a lot. I see that now. It's difficult to interpret that person. After a while, you figure things out. Is this from you? I can't read you either. What? Iruka was certain he was an open book. You bombard me with questions, become irritated when I avoid them all. And now you're bringing me back home after a day of making sure Guy didn't murder us. My concerns were warranted. You apparently fell from the skies and adopted Naruto. I'm not saying they aren't, but it's sending me confusing messages. Well, I'm not getting any mixed signals from you. Really, I don't trust you. So, whatever you're doing in the village, you should stop. I guess I kinda walked into that one, they sighed. But don't worry, once I've finished learning all of the weaknesses of every ninja here, I'll be on my way back to my evil lair with my super evil boss. He rolled his eyes at them and said, you know that's not what I meant. No, I don't. So either stop being paranoid or go completely insane. I'm talking stalking, staking out my place, and stealing my clothes for some reason. I think I'll go with the third option, which is to be suspicious and keep asking you questions. Boring, but I suppose you can ask. Right, he didn't expect them to respond, but it couldn't hurt to ask. Where are you from? Land of snow, as I've previously stated. Where exactly are you from? This is your second of your 3 questions I want you to know, so feel good about wasting it since I am really from the land of snow. What? Why only 3 questions? And this doesn't count as the third one. Fine, this is a freebie. Since you helped me today, I was going to give you 3 actual answers as thanks. Down to 1 left though. Fine, he assumed that wasn't actually true and they'd just lie in reply to his third question. Why are you still here? That's easy, Naruto. Really? I'm not going to adopt an orphan and then ditch him. What do I look like? Don't answer that I know what I look like. I actually kind of believe you. He was surprised by the matter-of-fact way they'd said it. Just because I am definitely not old enough to have and raise a child doesn't mean I'm a quitter, and he's a good kid. Way better than the last one I had to babysit. Last one? Sorry, you're all out of questions. And they stopped as they looked Guy doing squats using Naruto as a weight. Ah, there you are. He stopped and came over to them. I didn't know which apartment was the right one. They both looked at Naruto. Either he had gotten very good at faking, or Guy furiously squatting him had actually knocked him out. Right, I can take him from here. Razu didn't sound very confident of that. You're sure? Yeah, we've already taken up enough of your day, I'm sure. A busy guy like you can't spend all day helping us out. Alright then, he carefully handed Naruto off to them. I'll see you again next week. Try and keep at it on your own as well. They watched him race off, probably to do more training. Once his dust cloud faded, Razu began to head inside. Maybe this village is way too dangerous to raise a kid, and they struggled a bit to hold Naruto and grab the key. It's not that bad, Iruka gave them a hand. Of course you apparently have some experience with it. Nice try, but I'm not offering up any more freebies. You'll have to earn more answers. With his help they could get the door open and move inside with Naruto. How do I do that exactly? If you keep being nice and helping me out, that's not a bad start. They put Naruto down on a couch and collapsed into a chair. I'll think about giving you some bonus ones too, since you're kinda cute. What? The unexpected compliment made Iruka's face flush. That's right. Iruka didn't know what to say or do in response, so he just left, becoming angry with himself for being flustered. They were still a potential threat to Naruto and the village, and he couldn't let them fluster him so easily. Wait a minute. Arzu called to him from a window. Wanna get some lunch? He paused again, not knowing what to do in this situation, but he could tell they were clearly trying to ask him out. He had to refuse, because it was clearly a ploy from them, but he could also use it to get more information. A no works too. I know Naruto's going to be super hungry when he wakes. They cut him off, and you're already down there. I could pay you back. Oh, he may have misinterpreted that. Yeah, I guess I can. Thanks. I guess you can just get it from anywhere. I'll get some ramen, he said, not knowing what else Naruto would eat. That's probably the best idea. Just a second, they said as they returned to the room. He was annoyed with himself again now that they weren't looking directly at him. He'd clearly let them get into his head with that cute comment, and he'd make sure it didn't happen again. Wake up. He looked up and caught the wallet that had been tossed to him. It was a little panda wallet, and he had to admit it was rather cute. Please don't spend it all. Right, thank you, he said as he pocketed it and walked towards Ichiraku. Well, look who it is, Chuchai said. I haven't seen you here alone in a long time. What's new? If I can get it to go in a bowl for Naruto, he said, looking over the menu, not knowing what bowl Arzu would want. And I guess a second bowl for Naruto, he added, looking over the menu again. Alright, I'll have those ready for you in no time, he said, taking the money from Iruka and walking into the kitchen. Sitting at the counter, Iruka reflected on what he'd learned today. They were adamant about their origins being in the land of snow, which didn't explain why Arzu was in Konoha. If they were a ninja from there, they were also an incredible actor. He also now had this information about a child they'd apparently cared for at some point, which didn't seem to be true given everything he'd seen. I like the new wallet, he said as he stared at the panda wallet. It isn't mine. I assumed teachers would be paid well enough not to need to pickpocket for money. I'd been living beneath my desk for years, so it was just a matter of time. I guess the village's future is in some pretty sticky hands. From the person who walks around watching porn. That implication isn't precisely what I was going for. Iruka had not seen Kakashi in a long time, and the man went on more missions in a month than he had in 5 years. Chuchai placed 2 plastic bags on the counter and said, "Here are your 2 bowls to go." Thank you. I'm sure Naruto will appreciate the smell after practicing today. Kakashi, can I get you anything? I'll take a bowl with me and catch up to you, Iruka. Right. He decided not to tell him about the atmosphere he was about to enter. He returned a short distance and knocked on the Uzumaki residence door with 2 rapid headbutts. It's now open, Arzu shouted from deep within. He opened the door, finding Naruto still asleep on the couch and Arzu merely lying on the floor near the window, and they both perked up when the smell of ramen filled the flat. Yes, Naruto said as he crawled over and took a bowl from the bag Iruka was holding. You're not going to eat stuff on the floor. Fine, Naruto said as he climbed onto a chair near the table. Someone else might be joining us as well, Iruka said as she placed the other 2 bowls on the table and watched Arzu gently slip into a chair. Who is it? Well, you'll see. It's aggravating when folks avoid answering your queries. Do you dislike this aspect of it? I'm not sure what you mean. Of course not, he sighed, picking up his bowl. Iruka tried not to giggle as Arzu attempted to have Naruto eat his bowl like a regular person. He'd given up on that pretty immediately, so he had to admire their perseverance, even if the method was a little strange. We use utensils in this family, they said as they placed him in a light chokehold. Never Naruto squirmed and wiggled, plainly thinking that his boundless child energy would win the war of attrition. Perhaps I'll come back later, Kakashi said as he hopped through the window and into a weird scene. No, you don't. Arzu let go of Naruto and threw his chopstick pair into the wall near Kakashi's head, saying, "Go train with Guy, it'll be alright," you said. Iruka's eyes stayed locked to the chopsticks, which were stuck a few inches into the wall and had been thrown way too accurately for him to ignore. If he was going to learn anything, he'd have to wait for more blunders from them, and he was certain they'd make more. It had been over 2 months since Konoha had gained another Uzumaki, and Naruto was returning home alone for the first time since they'd arrived. Iruka hadn't been keeping as close an eye on them during the weekend, but he was confident he'd know if they went missing. He decided to get his hands dirty and went after Naruto. To avoid appearing strange, Iruka decided to call out to him. "Shouldn't you be waiting for your mother instead of going off by yourself?" "Yeah, I'm going to see Mom and then go home," indicated Arzu was still someplace. "Well, I'll simply come with you to make sure you keep out of trouble," he hoped sounded convincing enough. "How come everyone thinks I'll go unaccompanied for 5 minutes and cause mayhem? Is there a paint can in your bag? Just because you're right to think something doesn't mean it's not disrespectful," he explained as he handed up the can, as well as the other. Naruto sighed and grabbed out a spray paint can as well. Iruka left them near the academy to be stored later. Naruto led Iruka away from his mischief. It took a bit for him to realize they weren't going to the Hokage Tower. "Where precisely is your mother, Naruto?" Iruka had admittedly made a fool of himself. "Hospital. Is it for work?" "Yeah." "Oh, all right," he said, unable to think of a reason why the Hokage's secretary would be at the hospital for work, but assuming Arzu could. They ended up on the second level after a few disdainful looks and waves from the front desk workers. As they entered the recovery wing, Iruka realized he might be misinterpreting why they were there. "How am I expected to recover?" Arzu's voice from a room ahead of them caught his attention. "Without nice daytime television? I'd have gone home if I wanted to watch broadcast television." Naruto burst into the room, screaming, "Mom!" "Naruto!" Iruka saw them drag him from the bed into a half-hug, their other arm covered in a cast. "And you have a chaperone. You weren't pulling a trick on me while I was in here, were you?" "I would never do something like that." He had 2 cans of paint on him, Iruka pretended, trying to mask his surprise. Naruto laughed when they said narc. "However, this goes against the 1 prank per month guideline, young man. That's not fair. I didn't even get to do anything." "Wait, what was the first prank?" He was irritated by being oblivious of prank-related action. "I'll let it slip because he didn't notice." "Yes." Iruka made a mental note to check everything for this prank. If it slipped through his radar, he was slowing down. "All right, if you two can find a doctor, I'll get dressed, and we'll go home." Arzu rose up from the bed and stretched their good arm. "Do you think that's a good idea?" "Yeah, I got my stitches and my cast. I simply need to rest while I heal." "How exactly did you wind yourself here?" "Later, get out of here while I change," they said, waving him off and grabbing some clothing from a counter. Sure, unsure what to do, he took Naruto and walked away. "Do you know where the doctor is?" "No, but this generally works," he said as he approached the nearest individual. "Doctor, where are you?" "Well, I could have done that," Iruka said as she approached him. "However, you did not." "Be quiet." The nurse, who they'd strolled over to and ignored after asking a question, stood there for a few seconds before creeping away. "Well, now that nurse is gone," Naruto said as he walked away, looking around for someone else. "Hey you." "Huh?" A woman in a lab coat asked as she closed a door. "Are you a doctor?" "I am, yes." "Fine, come with us." She said, puzzledly looking over at Iruka. "His mother requires the services of a doctor in order to be released. Could you please assist us as soon as possible?" "Oh, okay, certainly," she said as she followed them back to Arzu's room, doctor coming in. The two waited outside the room, overhearing some muted dialogue, till the doctor returned, followed by Arzu, holding a clipboard and reading over some documents on it. "So yeah, just bring this paperwork to the front desk," she said, pulling one out of her pocket, "and you'll be on your way." "Great," they said as they grasped it with their good hand. "Thanks, doctor." She drifted off, leaving Iruka confused of what she did at the hospital. Another 30 minutes of hospital bureaucracy later, the 3 of them were strolling out of the hospital, as far as Iruka could tell, with only the damaged arm. Given their overall nonchalant tone about the whole event, he believed it was caused by something trivial. "All right, since I don't want to cook, we can grab something on the way," Arzu said, pulling out their cash and handing it to Naruto. "Oh, decisions. Naruto paused for a few seconds before making a beeline for Ichiraku. "Yeah, that figures. You have to buy your own today," they said as they followed Naruto. Iruka followed the 2 of them, ordering his own bowl to go and helping Naruto carry theirs so Naruto could get the keys. He observed Arzu struggle with the Togo bowl. He'd never noticed before, but they must have been right-handed. "Would you nay?" "No." "Are you certain?" "Yar." They were now successfully opening the bowl with their mouth. "Right." He tried not to chuckle as they spilled the ramen on themselves after opening it. "Damn it," they grumbled at the now ruined shirt. "Don't eat my food while I put on a new shirt." Iruka managed to finish his own bowl while keeping Naruto away from theirs, and the occasional pounding and half-swearing from the other room made him giggle. "Okay," Arzu said, finally wearing a tank top. "We'll be cutting the sleeves off several of my clothing later." "Do you think that's a good idea, Mom?" "No, but I can't get this stupid cast through the majority of the sleeves, so we're doing it." Iruka was doing his best to look quietly. Now that more of their chest had been revealed, he could see scars covering it. Most of them were too faded to be from this weekend. He'd have to ask about them later. His thoughts were interrupted by Naruto pushing a chopstick into his ear. What the FCK? He batted it away, irritated. Our record is now 1 chopstick, Naruto noted. Now that you've finished zoning out, RZU began to devour their dinner. I can fill you in on what happened. Wait, there aren't any hoops to jump through. If you like, I can add hoops. No, a typical explanation would suffice. I got into a fight with this intoxicated man. He smashed a bottle on my head, and as I collapsed, I landed on my arm. What? Is that it? Iruka had anticipated something a little less, well, credible. Yeah, unless you know something about how I fractured my arm that I don't. I guess I simply expected something out of the ordinary. May I tell you my version of events? Naruto raised his hand. Does your version still have a dragon in it? Yep. You cannot, I say. Fine, Naruto said, pouting and lowering his hand. Do you know who it was? Iruka understood he should have been more concerned about a violent drunk in the town. So you may bring charges. Nope, just some random person. Their tone told him there was more to it. Gave his description to the ninja police or whatever and they haven't gotten back to me about it. Probably a guest or somebody who has already left. He'd have to question them on this as well. Oh gosh, I just remembered. They stood up and walked to the door. I had to collect some stuff for work. Iruka, do you want to help me? I can assist. Naruto dashed over to his sneakers. Sorry, kiddo, RZU said as he took his shoes off, but I can only presume you have homework. Is that correct, Mr. Teacher? This alarmed Iruka, because ever since he met RZU, they seemed to want to keep Naruto close by. Yeah, you've got that mission for tomorrow, Naruto. He didn't know what they wanted, but he knew they wanted to be alone with him. But can't I request an extension because my mother was in the hospital? It was due on Friday, and you said you'd have it done by today, so if you can have it by tomorrow, you'll have 2 extensions. Crap, Naruto exclaimed as he reached inside his bag and began extracting papers from it. I'll help you with it when I get back, they said as they slipped on sandals and motioned for Iruka. Okay, just don't take too long. He dumped the bag and was now going through the pile he'd made. RZU led him to the building stairway rather than the exit once the door was shut, making careful to keep his defense up even if they were down an arm. Alright, so my question first. They leaned against the closed door. Do you know anything about Naruto's family? He said, surprised by the inquiry. No, I can't say I do. Why? Okay, everything I'm about to say stays in the staircase. Got it? This only heightened his anxiety, but he nodded. Hopefully, the cops don't find the individual they're looking for. I believe he is currently buried in the woods. Do you believe I'm sorry? Well, I was a little out of it at the time and was just kind of following this odd guy's lead. Digging a hole with a broken arm, in case you're wondering, is a horrible idea. So you shattered your arm and then killed him? Iruka was perplexed by this turn of events. No, I didn't, they groaned, pausing for a bit before continuing. Naruto did. What? You expect me to believe Naruto would do something like that? He couldn't believe it. That he could even do something like that. No, I don't because I'm still not sure I do, he said, but he did. He was blazing like a bright orange, which was not usual. Iruka's heart sunk as he realized what that meant. And then what happened? He assaulted the guy. He appeared like a rabid beast. The guy's head was already smashed open by the time I could climb back up and pull him back. And then what? Well, at least the glowing stopped. For a good minute, I turned him away from the body and terrified. Then there was that other guy. I'm not sure if he's a kid or not. How did he look? Black hair, red eyes, and, to be honest, a bad vibe. Okay, he's a Uchiha. He helped you hide the body. Yeah, he did something to make Naruto pass out and forget what happened, or at the very least corrupted his memory of it. Then he assisted me in cleaning up the area and disposing of the body. Now, if I'm being honest, that has its own extremely awful implications, but do you know why he assisted you? He didn't say anything, but he must have noticed the shining and didn't inquire about it, so I presume he knows things I don't. Well, if you don't know much, Iruka would have to figure out which Uchiha this was. Do you know what the hell is going on with my son? Their tone changed significantly, and he could see they were scared. Iruka paused, certain that it was tied to the nine-tailed fox. But should he tell them? How would they respond? Would it change how they regarded Naruto? He felt he had to say something. No, he said, I don't know anything about his biological family, but it has to be related to them. Great. I guess I'll add this to my list of unanswered questions. Are you saying this? He attempted to lighten the mood a little. Listen, I need you to pledge to me that this remains a secret. The tone was clearly tense. I can't. Iruka, I will protect him, they said, and he could see their horror in their eyes. If this comes out, his life will end, and I will not allow that to happen. So I need you to keep this a secret for both me and Naruto. If I do this extremely unlawful act for you, you must also provide me with answers. Fine, they said as they extended their hand to him. He shook it. This was not how he wanted to get more information out of them. But if Naruto was using the powers of the Nine Tails, he couldn't let an unknown risk be his parent. Being a ninja of Konoha meant doing things to keep the village safe, even if it meant bending his own morals along the way. Iruka had tried to give RZU a fair amount of time before pestering them for additional information. Don't forget, Naruto, he said as he drew the young rogue aside. Parent-teacher conference today. If you don't tell Urzu about it, I'll find out. Not if you get knocked out before then and have amnesia before then, Iruka said as he exited the room. Should we all inform our parents about it, Iruka-sensei? Sakura elicited a collective groan from the students when she asked this. He said, peering out the doorway to check if Naruto was still nearby. No other conferences today. Will there be any more conferences? No, probably not, the class responded. But make sure to study for the test this Friday. Iruka went through his desk for documents after that roller coaster ride of child highs and lows. He needed to create the illusion of a parent-teacher conference before his genuine plan could begin. Why don't I have any Naruto assignments? He had gone through 3 drawers in his desk and found none. I assume he turns them in. Are you okay, Iruka? Mizuki glanced at him, tearing apart the desk, puzzled and terrified. No, I'm not fine. Naruto has not turned in a single assignment. He brushed through some floor papers. He has, hasn't he? Where are they then? Well, since his last name is Uzumaki, his belongings are in the other cabinet because it's the second half of the alphabet. Iruka stared over the drawers he'd opened to seek for paper, and his discomfort rose as he saw the early sections of the alphabet. The final desk drawer cut off at R, so he slowly stood up and moved across to the drawer, opening the SV area. Oh, how are you doing, buddy? I'm perfectly well, I'm just distracted by this parent-teacher meeting. Oh my god, we're doing those. Do I really have to do the Uchihas this year? No, just one. Are you distracted by the fact that we have a single parent-teacher conference? Oh, he forgot Mizuki would want to come. You know, it's with Naruto's new mom, so there's a lot to cover. Wait, Naruto has a mother and a new mother. No, only one new mom. Since how long? Thank you for also being unaware. Oh, do you know now? Did you know before me? Yeah, everyone knew that. How did you miss that? He explained how he hid that fact from me. It's a whole other person. Why did you come here? To inquire about his classes. What the hell happened? You were there, dude. Iruka paused. He barely remembered Mizuki telling him that someone had come in and purported to be Naruto's mother. He was simply filing paperwork, so he left Mizuki to talk to them. You said it was all in good fun. I believe it was. But then they came in again the next day, angry that I wrote fart class on the paper. Did you say he had a fart class? Yeah, Mizuki chuckled. I did. How come you didn't inform me about them? Naruto predicted it would be amusing. And he was correct. However, it was somewhat relevant. Dude, I'm not a narc, he said, grabbing some papers from Iruka's grasp. But I will definitely be here to tell his mom how horrible he's doing in class. Or, Iruka refocused, explaining that he couldn't have Mizuki at the meeting. You just let me handle it and take the night off. There's no way this isn't going to be the best conference ever. I'm not sure, but I think it'll be incredibly boring. I'm sorry, are you crazy? I can't think of anything about this that won't be a lot of fun. Like what? This is the parent who viciously beat someone at the orphanage and vowed to do the same to the Hokage. I just get to watch because you're in charge of the conference. I doubt it will be anything like that. Yes, I do. Iruka had no clue how to persuade Mizuki not to stay for the conference, and Arzu may turn up at any time. So when the door opened and they entered the room, his chances of acquiring information today disappeared. Hey Iruka, hey fart person. Arzu seemed out of it to say the least, and the blouse with crudely cut off sleeves only added to that impression. Let's get this over with because my pain relievers are completely ineffective. Oh hell yeah, Mizuki said as she drew 2 more chairs over to the desk and sat down. I don't think we both need to be here for this, you know. Mizuki wanted to do some additional labor one day in his life, and it had to be today. You're correct. Take the night, friend. I can handle this by myself. Yeah, and I already chat to you like every day, Arzu said, becoming an impediment to his plan. See, oh, and you can go babysit Naruto for me because I left him with Kakashi, which seems like a bad idea. Oh my goodness, why would you do that? Well, I was heading here to talk to you when I saw Kakashi, and I was out of alternatives, so I left Naruto with him. Iruka was torn. On the one hand, he needed this information now, but on the other, much more responsible hand, Kakashi could not be trusted with a young child. We can simply postpone this parent-teacher meeting till you're not on drugs, he agreed with himself, so let's go find Naruto. What? Mizuki locked contact with him, his eyes slightly widening to indicate he'd understood something. Actually, I can simply go collect Naruto while you take over here. In case it isn't clear, I am still on medicines regardless of who is here for the conference. Who cares? Mizuki muttered as she walked by Iruka to the door. I absolutely know what's going on here. You could have just said so, man. What? Iruka had no idea what was going on. So, we're having a conference. Arzu gave them both a rather blurry look. Yeah, you and Iruka here, Mizuki said with a smirk, can handle it without me, I'm sure. Yes, okay. Don't worry, bro. I didn't win Wingman of the Year for nothing, Mizuki said quietly as he walked out the door. What? Huh? No, that was directed at him. Who? The other instructor is Mizuki. Who? He's a jerk. Off-art person. The perplexed air about them seemed to evaporate before reappearing in full a few moments later. So what do we do now at this conference? Normally, I go over how the student you're the parent of is doing in class and answer any questions you have about their progress. Given who my child is, I'm going to presume he's not doing well. Well, his grades aren't terrific overall, but they've been improving recently. Most likely as a result of some after-school guidance. Are you saying Mike Guy makes my son do better in school? Okay, taking that question at its value, I don't understand your surprise. He is a highly respected Konoha John. Fair enough, but they hesitated for a time. He's not exactly teaching wisdom, but he's probably teaching Naruto something. The necessity of simulating being knocked out, but continue. Anyway, I didn't mean Guy specifically, but I won't discount whatever lessons he gives Naruto. Having a father in his life to assist him appears to be doing wonders for his scores. Is this about how he keeps duping me into finishing the homework? I promise it's an accident. He's just so damn persuasive. I'm sorry, but you're doing his homework. Perhaps not all of it, but a lot of it now. He became very skilled at inventing stories regarding practice examinations and parent sheets. And you didn't think that was suspicious? Well, I never went to school, so I don't know what a typical assignment is. Did you never go to school? There's no school for losers. I'm fantastic. I can do a one-handed handstand. Check it out. Wait, you shouldn't do that, Rai, he screamed as they crashed into some desks before he could stop them. I'm okay. RZU did not appear to be in good condition given their current situation. I landed on the fractured arm, which absorbed the most of the impact. Do we need to return to the hospital? Do you mean me and you are the four yous I'm seeing when you say we? Well, that answers that, he said as he began assisting them up off the ground, and the concussion you just sustained should be checked out right now. At least you can tell Fart Guy that the conference was so successful that I had to limp home. I won't because I don't like the implications. Which one? I'll just go ahead and tell them all. That's reasonable. They leaned on him a lot on the way there, hoping he hadn't just seen them break another leg. It took a lot longer than he would have liked. He had to stop and make sure they didn't pass out on him a few times. But he finally got them to the hospital's front desk after an hour. Can I assist you? The receptionist gave them both a cursory glance. Yeah, I think my pal here is concussed and may have broken a leg. Another street brawl. At the very least, she seemed to recognize RZU. These parent-teacher conferences are way more dangerous than I expected, RZU managed to say through all the haze. The days following the undoubtedly second worst conference Iruka had ever had were surprisingly calm. Having learned a lesson about patience, he tried to just ignore the information he was pretty sure would be coming his way. Iruka-sensei, Sakura said for the 5th time throughout the test. Question 4 has been repeated 5 times. Just cross out all the repeats of it. He'd evidently done a poor job of. Should we remove all of the repeated questions or just question 4? Every single one of them. What about questions that, while technically different, ask the same thing? How many people are like that? Everyone except the first 5. Everyone just passed the tests forward, he said, hardly his proudest moment. And I guess you can all leave early because this was all that was scheduled for the day. A swarm of youngsters carried Sakura into the air as they ran out of the room, ecstatic that she'd gotten them a half day and A's. Iruka frowned at the stack of papers in his hands, knowing that no one would ever know about his mistake. Hey, Iruka, do you smoke in here? Mizuki walked into an empty classroom that smelled faintly of burning paper. Nope, must be your imagination, he said as he leaned back in his chair and stared coldly at the ceiling. As a follow-up question, where have all the students gone? Home. Why did they all leave? It's a long story. Do you require anything? I think not, considering all the kids are supposed to be departing. Fine, I'll just sit here wallowing. Just because you have one parent-teacher conference in which someone ends up in the hospital doesn't mean you have to wallow. Shockingly, I'd forgotten about it and was wallowing for another equally heinous cause. Thank you for reminding me. I can now wallow twice as much. Mizuki was many things, but someone who knew how to deal with it was not one of them. So he left Iruka to wallow. And wallow he did. The minutes passed to hours, and before long it was the time the academy courses were meant to end. Another 10 minutes, and he heard a knock at the door. I'm still wallowing. Mizuki, please be respectful. He indicated you could be doing this, but I thought it was another one of his jokes. RZU had chosen to just enter after knocking. Do you think that's a good thing? His wallowing was temporarily halted by their presence. I believe so, but I'm also the one who got the concussion believing it was a good idea to execute the handstand while high. You appear to be less on drugs now, so maybe this time you won't fall over. I was strongly forbidden by the doctor from doing it, but I did so anyhow and can actually perform one without falling still. Thank you for putting that nagging question to rest. Oh wonderful, I have a new one to throw into the mix. Is it yet another promise of secrecy? Surprisingly, no. It's simply a basic question about you wanting to go out to eat. Like, in any way. Alright, specifically, would you like to have supper with me tonight? Iruka was taken aback by the question. I suppose so. Is there an occasion or, like, one part apology for the entire conference mess, and two parts just a great Friday night activity, you know? Is Naruto on his way? No, he's with Sasuke, so I'm relieved I won't have to leave him with Kakashi again. He is? Well, I think so. A crow informed me that earlier, so either he was kidnapped or he's with Sasuke. Is there anything typical about your life? Hey, I'm just like the rest of you. I put my jeans on one leg at a time. Another question from the stack. Is that a yes? They said, putting two fingers together and looking at him. Oh, okay, dinner sounds wonderful. Can you fill me in on this crow? Well, it was like, they said, attempting to estimate the size of the bird with their hands. How large is this? And it made you think. Yeah, I stared in its small bird eyes and boom. Mine voice sounded a lot like that one person, she said. Who was it? Yeah, that man, he's like, they say another time. Are you high? A bird talked to your head in the voice of some nameless guy. Iruka was becoming increasingly disturbed. Didn't you say Naruto was with Sasuke? That pretty much sums up what I said yes to. Should we go look into that? Of course, but first and foremost, is 6 o'clock a reasonable time for dinner, or is that too early? 6 works good, but we should check on this right now, he said as he rose from his chair and grabbed his vest. Yeah, is sushi good or are you not a seafood guy? Sure, he said as he pushed them out the door. Whatever you want, let's go find your stolen son right now. For sure, they resumed walking normally rather than being pushed by him. But, like, do you have any allergies? Oh my god, we can talk about this literally anytime. Iruka became agitated by their lack of urgency. Iruka was astounded at how quickly this riddle was answered. Naruto was with Sasuke in the Uchiha complex when the magical bird revealed the truth. The magic bird mystery was only answered when Itachi returned with refreshments for the guys. Oh, I see you got my magic bird, he said as he laid a tray down and approached them both. I knew that sounded familiar, Arzu said to Iruka, pointing to Itachi. This is the guy I was talking about earlier. You might have just said that sounded like Itachi. I recognize him. Is your name Itachi? It is. You remember his voice, but you don't know his name. Iruka felt a blood vessel in his head nearly burst. It didn't really come up, and I also don't know what the other teacher's name is. Why did you steal Naruto, Itachi? Sasuke informed me they had a half day, so I picked Naruto up as well instead of our previous plan, he said, motioning to Arzu. Did you two have a plan? I planned to fetch them both up after work and then meet up with Itachi later for a sleepover. Iruka liked to think of himself as cool and level-headed, but that was being put to the test today. He took another long breath, resisting the impulse to blow up and start ranting. Could your magical bird not relay the entirety of that message? He started to make his way through the list of queries. I believe it could. And could you? He asked Arzu. Shouldn't you have communicated these plans before claiming Naruto was kidnapped? I suppose I could have. Did the other instructor not tell you I was taking Naruto? Itachi added a new wrinkle to the situation, the Mizuki element. He mentioned checking with you because I wasn't meant to be taking them at the time, but stated it was fine once I returned. He didn't do it, probably since you were wallowing. A clever guy wouldn't disturb that deep of wallow, Arzu said, despite the fact that it made no sense. I must admit, I was extremely upset when Mizuki came in to speak with me. Well, Naruto, I'd say this is a solid problem averted. Did you pack your toothbrush? I did. He cried from where he and Sasuke were playing. Oh well, then, when should I come by tomorrow? I typically take Sasuke out to train around 7 o'clock, so any time after that is okay. If you don't want Naruto to go along, stop by before then. I'll be stuck with Guy all by myself, but he deserves a week break from that. Then maybe 10. Great, see you later, they said as they turned to leave. I suppose I can locate you for dinner later. Sure, Iruka said as they called him back. Wait, do you happen to know where I live? You should actually stop by my apartment. Iruka and Arzu parted ways with this hazy dinner arrangement. He returned to his apartment and was welcomed by the sight of a local fart person. Okay, so, Mizuki began speaking before Iruka could ask him a question regarding what Itachi said. I heard from Naruto's mother that you'd be asked for dinner today. Yes, it did happen, but, dude, Naruto is staying with the Uchihas. Do you know what that means? He said, somewhat shaking Iruka. That I'm having dinner with Naruto's mother. You're going to receive. He leaned in and said quietly. Laid. Nope, naha. Iruka said as he pushed him back and opened his door. That is not what it means at all. Bro, I had my doubts after the whole conference thing, Mizuki said. But they invited you out to supper. You're definitely going to the Bone Zone. First and foremost, they did not ask me out, Iruka emphasized. They simply invited me to a wonderful Friday supper. And what will be the most enjoyable aspect of this Friday? Not at all. I'm just saying that if I'm interpreting the signs correctly, which I believe I am, they all point to you and Naruto's mum bumping uglies tonight. How many various methods do you have for stating that? Iruka asked, hoping he'd notice her irritated tone. as numerous as a number you may become acquainted with later today. Iruka waited for the number, but Mizuki seemed to desire some type of prompting. How num? 69. He groaned as Mizuki proceeded to bombard him with innuendos. He just went through his clothes for something more casual to wear instead of engaging with any of them. Is this what you're going to wear on the one-way train to Pound Town? Mizuki asked, pointing to the pants and top Iruka had chosen. No, this is what I'm going to wear to dinner. We both stated the same thing. No. Listen, I know you're not an expert in the dating scene, he said as he took Iruka's clothes and headed back to the dresser. So just let your homeboy handle this. First and foremost, you're being impolite. Second, it's not a date. Mizuki needed only 2 minutes to change into a new clothing. It only took Iruka 5 seconds to dislike it. No, come on, what better look for a dating night than this? It's just a fishnet undershirt and a pair of jeans that were too small for me but which I neglected to return. I ask again, what is a better look? How about an actual shirt for starters? How about you wear a vest over it as a compromise? We're heading to a restaurant. I'm not going to wear that in public. I shall be a laughingstock. I understand, but sometimes you have to make a compromise for a decent appearance. Being a trendsetter entails suffering today in order for the world to progress tomorrow. First and foremost, I do not think this is a nice look. Second, no, that is not the point. Do you want to join the fucktown population or not? That WAS ain't even cool. Additionally, that is not happening. No way, with that attitude. Iruka was at the end of his rope, and Mizuki had no intention of giving up. Trapped in an impossible situation, he decided to just give up. Thankfully, when it came time to go to Arzu's, it was dark enough that he didn't think anyone spotted him. Wow, you're early, Arzu said as he opened the door and glanced at him. They drank in the image of their son's teacher wearing a fishnet top and slim jeans for a few moments until the silence was broken by their uncontrollable laughter. Iruka made a mental note to get Mizuki back as he stood there, a little cold and immensely ashamed.
This was it for today. I will continue the series in next part. Till then, we weave offline.